Hello and welcome to the Mindful Movement podcast. I'm Les Raymond.
And I'm Sara Raymond.
We got Sara again on the podcast.
Always love to be here.
Sweet. Some housekeeping.
You're going to do housekeeping?
It's the New Year's. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Thanks again for another great year of support for the Mindful Movement. Sara and I really appreciate.
Absolutely.
We have a couple things to talk about. One, we're going to catch up. You had an impact on me the other night that just never ceases to impress me that, oh my gosh, I'm married to this lady that could do this stuff. I wanted to share some of that. I know there's a lot of people out there that could use help, and sometimes just a little snack of an example, a little therapy snack might help someone out there. Also, there's an opportunity for those that want a session with you that feel like it might not be accessible now due to like financial constraints. Mm-hmm. There's going to be an opportunity that's going to be a regular monthly opportunity for someone to get it for a price that they could afford. Mm-hmm. So we'll save that for the end, talk about that opportunity and how people could learn more about that. The other thing we were going to talk about, was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
There was something.
There definitely was something. We didn't make notes for this one. It'll come up.
I can't remember.
It'll come up. Well, let's just start with something we know we're going to talk about. If that comes up, great. If it doesn't come up, then it wasn't meant to be. On this episode, at least.
Perhaps it was the new free offering that we have to help make New Year's resolutions and
oh, right. Yes.
Changes.
Let's start there. So you put out something recently, a package of content.
Yes. So essentially it is designed as a self-led personal retreat. So what I mean by that is you set aside time, either one full day of time or two sessions, 2 half days, where you are going through a process that I've created to help you look at where you are and where you want to go. Essentially external goals or internal shifts that you want to make. And then you go through a process of looking at what might be holding you back, what are some limiting beliefs or patterns of behaviors that could be stopping you. You go through a letting go process. It's really powerful, beautiful process. And then the second half is all about planting the seeds of the new life that you desire, the beliefs, the feelings that you want, the emotions and the qualities you want to embody more of, so that you can have any internal shifts within yourself and then reach the external goals, the measurable goals that you desire.
Sweet. And this is available how? How do people get this?
It's all free. It's available at themindfulmovementcourses.com/new beginnings. We'll link it in the description.
There's going to be a link.
All you have to do is put your name and email in and log in, and there it is in the library.
So it's not free. You have to give us your email. We've been
there's
piling
no
up emails. We have a secret closet in our house where we store everybody's emails. Our secret stash.
Silly.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I think it's a really great way to get to know me as a coach, get to know yourself, and really give you a usable process to help you reach your goals. So I hope it's valuable for you.
So this is a self-led thing.
Correct.
And how much time does it take to work through it, you think?
You know, it's...
What size bite is this?
It depends on what you want. Some people like a really thorough exploration of the past and then moving forward into the present. So it could realistically take all day. Or if you're not that kind of person and you just want to get a little taste of each step 1, step 2, part 1, part 2, you could probably go through it in an hour.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a little longer than an hour, because there are 2 different hypnosis practices, and then there's one more hypnosis practice that you would do daily after that process has been done.
Great. Looking here. Have you gotten any feedback so far from people that have already done it?
I have gotten a couple pieces of feedback from some clients that I had been working with previous, and so they went through it, so I have more direct access with them. And I think that it was a really great opportunity at the beginning of the year. And so far, the process was useful for them. We'll see how their achieving of goals goes as the year goes on.
Okay. Next topic. Oh, so you helped me the other night. It's interesting. Like, I haven't really put a lot of thought into how I want to share this. But every time I guess I get a chunk of help, whether it's from you, when you help me, it seems to be spontaneous. I'm having a bad time and you're just there. We live together. So it's a great opportunity for me. And I know there's part of you that's like, oh, I'll deploy one of my tricks.
Isn't that really a trick?
But generally, like if I have a therapy session, whether it's with someone else or like there's this period of time where you feel like you have a turning point, you make some progress, and then like you kind of forget that it's something that you need in a way. Like you're on autopilot or cruise control or whatever, and if something's like bubbling up or starts to simmer, because there's like always more, there's always something you could heal from or whatever, you might not notice as it's like brewing. And then for me, once periodically it'll just erupt in some way. And I guess I have a tendency of my eruptions to being very physical in nature. Like, yeah, there might be a thought cycle involved, some kind of negative thought cycle, but a lot of times there'll be a physical reaction. And I know for a while I never really put pieces together that the physical reactions are really represent, they're manifestations of more like emotional things.
Would you be willing to give an example? It doesn't have to be specific to you if you don't want to, but what do you mean when you say your eruption is a physical reaction?
Like for me, common thing is skin related, skin flare-ups, which there's a lot of different triggers that can, I think, lead to them, but it's like the way my body says, hey, pay attention, there's something to look at, you're not looking, you're not listening, whatever.
Okay.
And my tendency is to go to the supplement cabinet or, go down a rabbit hole on YouTube of how to fix a problem of the body.
Can we just pause on
Yes,
that statement
sure.
right there?
Yeah.
This is where I think I sense the desire to jump in and offer you a different path in that healing process the other day. And I'm specifically pausing you in that statement of looking to fix a problem. And I think a lot of people think that way, and I think it's hard not to. And I also believe that it's not a problem. You don't need to be fixed. It's actually an opportunity, right? Because you're like thrown off of what you called your autopilot, and you can't keep going on autopilot. So it's an opening. It's an invitation to say, hey, how can I heal? How can I evolve? How can I get better? And when you can approach it that way, it feels very different than I need to fix a problem, which is me. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine. What I remember is in the midst of it, I was really having a rough time. I had a lot of acute anxiety over it. And I didn't notice you were doing this, but you recognized that because I'm thinking about the body, the physical manifestation, it's like that was the portal in which you like stepped into and like poked around or whatever, or got me to.
Right.
Yeah, so I guess there's a lot of ways, like you could be very intellectual about, analyzing an experience or a past event, childhood thing or whatever, and because you recognize, my connection with the physical body, like you went through that route pretty seamlessly and got me to ask kind of my body what it was trying to say.
Right.
And it was interesting. Like afterwards, I realized like, oh, you have there's a lot of different arrows in the quiver. Like there's a lot of ways to get to the same thing.
Right.
And everybody experiences life their own way and has their different tendencies. And, it's important that you're not trying to jam a round peg into a square hole. Like it seems like you have a modality or a tool for like every type of personality, maybe, or the combination of the personality with that current situation that's arising. And it was one of those other moments where it's like, dang, Sarah, how'd you do that? But it was very useful. But you got me. Do you want to talk about kind of what your strategy was there? Because is that a common thing with other people that you do really enter that way? Enter into the situation that way?
Sure, yes, I do absolutely I approach someone's challenge from a perspective of let's use the wisdom of your body, because I don't know the answers. I mean, I'll be the first to say that. Like, I don't have the answers, you do. But I can't help you find your answers if you're getting in your own way. And so if we could talk specifically about your situation, do you mind?
Okay.
So you were, like you said, having some flare-ups with your skin, and for a long time you thought you were in the clear. Like you had some chronic challenges with that for a number of years in the past, and it was like, oh, I'm in the clear. I don't have to like worry about this coming back again. And it did. And I think that was part of what really set off the acute anxiety. Was like, oh gosh, I'm back here again. How am I going to do this? And so when you went down the path of what you're familiar with, which is, like you said, supplement cabinet, let's analyze the nutrition, like until we can't analyze it anymore, go down the YouTube university rabbit hole. And I thought, okay, well, let's just see if there's a different path. And I know that you have done a lot of meditation and breath work and other like self-inquiry in the past. And so I thought, well, let's go there and see what we can learn. See what you can see that you have been blind to until now. Does that answer your question about like the approach?
Yeah. Yeah, so I sensed that, I guess, was going on, and you asked me, I guess, for permission.
Always.
In your professional way. Like I have a choice. Just kidding. And then I was laying down in bed, something along lines of finding like the part of my body that like I had sensation, and asked me what it was saying, essentially. Where when you're in the, like, I can't imagine being able to do that on my own. Like, there you need a like a break, like a pattern disruptor. So me laying there in the middle of the anxiety storm and intense sensation, like eczema flare up, intense itch, can't think about anything else. I can't in that moment think, oh, what are you telling me, left elbow or whatever? And it's
Well, you may not be able to do that right
now. So that's a muscle that can be trained.
Sure.
Right.
Right? Like, think about the first time that you tried meditation.
Right.
I mean, it would have probably felt very awkward and like, what am I doing? What's the point of this? And
I don't remember the very first time, but I guess my point is
any other skill,
whether it's endogenously produced or help from an external source, like a pattern interruption might not be necessary, but very useful, obviously.
Sure.
Because all of a sudden you're phrasing questions that I'm just not gonna phrase in that way. You're asking questions in ways that I'm not gonna come up with, and they get me thinking down a track that is just way more useful than spinning around in.
Right, for sure. But I would also add that when there has been any chronic illness, chronic pain, even past trauma, sometimes the body is not a safe place to be. And we might live in our head or have some disassociation tendencies or numbing or distracting. So feeling safe in that process is really important. And what you're describing of feeling like you couldn't do that on your own might be related to the fact that the body's not a safe place for you to be in that moment where, like you said, the eczema's flaring, the itch is intense, the thought process is like cycling, and so having someone guide you through a process where you can start to feel safe, and even if it's like little baby steps of like find one part of your body that feels good or there's a lack of discomfort, a lack of pain. And you just start there.
And just let that expand.
Let it expand, or just really be with it. Like, recognize it, find a safe place in your body to connect with.
So I remember it was one of the first podcast episodes that I did when I interviewed Diane Connolly. She was the co-founder of really, I think, one of the first acupuncture schools in this country, and just an amazing woman. And she said, I remember being with her once, and I was just like a complaint machine, like listing all the problems. And she, like, anytime you're talking about a problem, like, she won't let you finish a sentence almost. It's like a pattern interruption. And she would make you say something good, like, what's good? And then, like, she would say, there's a window. Go through the window. Like, find the window. Find the opening. Go there. Because which is like, it makes me mad. I'm like, no. There's problems. You need to hear them. Right. And no, she's like, where's the window? Like, go in the window. Like, find the opening. And as you go through it, let it expand. Because whatever we're paying attention to, whatever we're focusing on, will expand.
Right.
If you focus on the problems, they'll expand.
Right. And often we can get stuck in being the victim and not be able to see that there is another option, a window, like you said, right? A way through that. Right. We're just stuck in being in victim that we can't see it.
Yeah. What did we talk? So I don't know how much I want to dive into what we actually talked about that night.
I don't think we need to. I think this was very informative of a practice, of a process that.
Actually, let's summarize just a little bit. Let's see if we can make this short.
Okay.
Because there's another part to it that I think is interesting. And I know we've talked about this idea before. But I'll fast forward some steps. Laying there, not feeling great, obviously. You're asking me to kind of connect with my body, do some listening. Fast forward a few steps down, discovering that, I've created maybe some kind of force field of some sort, some kind of protector to protect me so that I don't have to expose myself to people that might not accept me. Right. You being one of them.
Protection from rejection.
Yeah, feeling like I won't be worthy in your eyes or the eyes of my kids or people in my life if they knew the real me, if they knew like how bad I actually was, kind of thing. And a lot of that is just stuck with like whether it's feeling guilty or ashamed about things I've done in the past. And you asked me to like come up with or try to remember the time where that created. And I actually had trouble with that because I felt like there were a lot of times in my life that I feel like I behave in a way that I'm like hiding behind that in some way. And I can't really pinpoint like an early childhood time, but I know that sometime in like maybe early teenage years I was using it, but I still think I do now. And
Sure.
The part I wanted to get to, I didn't want to really nerd out on the details there, but to be able to look at that part with gratitude and like be thankful that this part was developed, because obviously I did it to help survive somehow, and it's very hard again without someone like shining light or holding the mirror far enough back or at the right angle to see like that's not a reason to be mad at yourself. Like that's great, like this part of you didn't necessarily like save your life, but like you needed it, and look at you, you're there for yourself by providing this protector.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think sometimes protective patterns that we've adopted can get in the way of the evolution of the life that we want, and other times
You mean because you just don't let them go, or?
Right. Like, let's say the same protective strategy that you're talking about, which is essentially like hiding. It's hiding qualities of yourself for fear of those qualities being rejected. But that pattern could get in the way of like deep intimacy and connection with another person because you're not truly being vulnerable and open and fully you. And it can also protect you from being rejected. So there's a reason why it's a pattern, right? Because it's worked.
Do you find, so you work with you're working with a lot of people, and I'm sure throughout that process, you're identifying parts that they develop that was some survival like tactic, some type of protection from something.
Yeah.
Is it common for is it generally easy for people to see the positive side of those parts that created that, like without that light they feel probably a negative association with?
I think for most adults, when they're inquiring about and getting to know the protective parts, the protective strategies that they've developed, they can see how they developed and they can see the good in them. it's probably harder for people to find a different strategy to replace it.
Okay. So that's the idea, like create a part that serves you better based on what you want now.
I think it's like the part, you're not creating a new part of you.
You're using it for a different purpose?
Correct.
Gotcha.
You're allowing it, because these parts of us take on these extreme roles because they think there's no other choice.
So like, I know that you were there. I know you were there to help me through this then, but
that was then,
and now like I need you to do this for me.
Right.
Instead.
Right. And most of the time those protective parts are exhausted because it's a lot of responsibility to protect you and keep you alive the way that they have been doing it for all these years. And so they would probably like to rest or take on a different role that they're more well suited for.
Take a nap and then recover.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's helpful. Okay. So I don't want to talk anymore about that.
Okay.
So we had 3 things to discuss. That's 2 of them. But I do like sharing that because I know that I'm not alone with thinking that, and I think it's useful to just hear a little mini testimonial in some way. Maybe it helps somebody. If somebody resonates with it, they could look in the mirror a little bit, and if they do need help, maybe see that they could use some help, and then reach out.
Yeah, and I would also say that we have a couple of meditations that are designed to do similar things to what we were talking about. One of which I have to look and see what they're called, but.
Do you think we could find them and just put them, link to them in this?
Absolutely. And there's one that I'm working on currently that will be out in the next couple of weeks that is specifically a somatic meditation. So that's designed to help, like I said, little baby steps into feeling safe in your body if that's not been a safe place in the past. So for anyone who's wanting to explore getting to know their body in a different way, that would be a good option.
Okay, you have this funny hair here.
Thank you.
I keep looking at it's still there, but
I have lots of funny hairs.
Okay, so on the topic of getting help, we
Yes.
mentioned early in this chat that we're going to extend an offer. So you're getting busier and busier, it seems, and I know a lot of people would like to get one-on-one coaching, and we totally understand that for some folks it doesn't feel accessible, maybe financially. And we offer a lot of free content, and for a lot of people that's enough. And for those that want to take a deeper dive and they want that guidance, you're decided to offer your service. It does come with a catch, but every month you're going to be offering a one-on-one session, and this is the traditional like first full session where you go through a 2-hour.
Yeah, so the hypnotherapy package is designed in a 2-hour appointment. First half is coaching and background information collecting and visioning for the future. And then the second half is the actual hypnotherapy experience. It's a conversational hypnosis. And then you get a personalized recording that you listen to for usually at least 30 days. And then we have a follow-up call.
So you create a customized hypnotherapy-based like meditation.
Correct.
That's recorded that they could listen to on a regular basis for about a month.
Correct.
And then you revisit for a shorter call to kind of recap.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good way to have a little bit of closure of, okay, this is where you were when we first met. This is the experience that you had. Either next steps or like, let's wrap this up in a bow and celebrate that you've come so far. And you always have the recording to go back to if the presenting pattern shows up again. and it's a tool in your tool belt to use whenever you want.
So the idea of this is to have a real like transformational experience. Like this is not a one and done, but like a pivot point in your life, in your personal growth journey or whatever.
Yeah.
It's intensive.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to be offering one of those a month for a discounted rate, and the rate's going to be essentially what someone feels they can afford. So there's a short form to fill out where people are going to be able to tell you what they're looking for, see if it's a good fit. There's going to be a spot to put what you can pay, and we're asking just to be honest. So if it's zero, put zero. It will not change your chance of being selected. If it's any amount less than the normal price, it's all the same. Just put what you feel, not what you think it's worth to you, but what you think you could afford. And for someone that we feel like, that you feel it's a good fit, every month there's going to be an opportunity. So if you're listening and you'd like to get a session, you feel like you can't afford it, please fill out the form. And even if you don't get it the first month, Sarah's going to be doing one of these every month. The catch is we're going to have your email. It's going in our secret closet of emails. That's one catch. Kidding.
Silly.
I've never even sent an email to our list, so I don't know why I said. So, but no, the real catch is these are recorded things, and they're recorded for your benefit.
And for the benefit of the community. So there's a lot that can be gained from just watching someone else go through this process.
So that's the real exchange. You have to essentially
you have to agree to be recorded and
that
have your experience go onto our channel.
Gotcha. So the Mindful Movement in Motion, the second channel, not the channel where the meditations are, will be a place where we may, not all of them, but some of them, if you feel like it's a good example for other people to see that are interested, to get an idea of what the process looks like, you may have your session, the full length, put on YouTube for the world to see and learn about this process, and maybe from that benefit in itself, or maybe be inspired to dive deeper themselves.
Correct. Yes. So those will be pretty long videos.
They're going to be very long videos.
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours.
So it'll include the whole first session and the follow-up.
But for those that are really curious of what that whole thing looks like, you're going to have a chance to see from start to end the whole thing.
Right. And you've heard me talk about it. I've talked about it over and over again. I think that it's really, really important to feel safe and to trust the process. So I would hope that this being able to show these sessions to someone who might be interested will give them a little sense of understanding of the process and, me as a guide, so they can feel safe and trust in their own experience.
I'm personally excited for this idea. I think it's great. And I just think about the people out there that, like, I think about when I was growing up, my mother raising us, single mom, 3 kids, 3 jobs, survival mentality, just get it done, put enough food on the table, like never had a lot, but always had enough, but like would have never been able to like go do something for herself to that level.
Yeah. I mean, the more that I read and learn about trauma, developmental trauma in particular, and like how important child development is in adult mental health and well-being, even physical health, the more I feel very called to help parents, because it's tough. It's a tough job.
I have come to the conclusion that I feel like it's pretty much impossible not to screw up your kids to some degree.
Yeah, even if you are the most like caring, loving, well-meaning parent, it's just, this world is hard, right?
The human experience is hard.
Yeah, and it's a lot. It's a big responsibility, a big undertaking, and we used to raise children in villages.
Yeah, lots of support.
Yeah, and we don't do that anymore. And the cost of living is up, and the requirements of two working household, two adult working household. It's a lot. So if I have the ability to help someone, whether they're a parent or not, that's not important. But
well, I thank you for extending that. I think it's great, and I look forward to seeing how doing that not only nourishes the receiver of that service, but I look forward to seeing how it nourishes you. I think it'll mean a lot to you doing those sessions. So
they always do.
Yeah,
I'm always deeply honored and touched by the clients I work with.
Okay, so we went over all the three of the things. The new thing that you put out, the self-led retreat.
New Beginnings retreat, yep.
We went over the recent session of voodoo magic you put on me. I mean, the guidance that you gave me, the coaching that you gave me at a time of need, and the new opportunity for those to get a session that feel like it's out of reach. We want to make it a little bit more available.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's everything. I think I would second what you said in the very beginning about how grateful we are for a wonderful year and a continued opportunity to serve the way that we can.
Yeah, you worked really hard this past year on the mindful movement.
Well, I did just graduate or complete this intensive 9-month master coaching program. So that was a big undertaking, and so that played a role in how much I was working over the last year.
Well, I'm glad that you did that.
So am I. It was amazing.
It was nice. I could tell you got a lot out of it, and I'm sure your clients are getting a lot out of it with your more refined skills.
Not voodoo magic.
It's not voodoo. All right, that's a wrap. Everybody out there, thanks again for all the support.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening, and we'll try to have all the links to everything we discussed here today in the description of the show notes.
Sounds good.
Have a great day, everybody.